Today we're talking about darkness. We have the Raven card, and the topic with it is darkness and darkness within us. So what I have here is some notes. Is an affirmation is I take ownership of both light and dark natures of my being. So a lot of people think of ravens whenever they see them because, they're like big birds and they're really smart. And I think it freaks a lot of people out. But this card is reminding us that they may be dark, but they're not evil, They're not like bad creatures. They're magical as well. And it represents too that we keep a lot of the shadow parts of ourselves hidden or completely ignore it. And we're dealing with that at a large scale, right? There are a lot of people who have very negative views about entire groups of people, and they just ignore how they think about it, And if you really try to get down to the nitty gritty with them about humanizing other people and how they're dehumanizing the people they're targeting, they don't want to hear it. They become physically violent because they don't want to look at that part of themselves. They don't want to do the work to look at their generational trauma and the generational curses that they're carrying into this world. So, and it becomes fake, right? It becomes this fake falsehood, fake presentation of who they think that they are. And it can so easily get holes poked into it, right? You know what I mean? They say these things and it could be easily disproven, and they don't want to let go of it. They want to hold on to it because the entire image they're trying to portray outward is fake. It's a facade. So for a lot of people who are taking the responsibility to look at the darkness of your ancestors, or maybe yourself, or maybe your family, or if you just want to do shadow work in general, just because you want to be a more open and dynamic person, then you can uncover your magic by accepting these shadow parts of yourself and by analyzing them. You'll have opportunities for transformation and positive change. We also had an affirmation yesterday, I am willing to change, right? So that kind of wraps into this aspect here. The second one I have here is Four of Swords. It says rest, meditation, relaxation, and slowing down. For a lot of people, what I'm seeing as a way to kind of battle what's going on out in the world is to kind of continue to do the things that make you happy. I saw a quote the other day that was this was from a long time ago. It's not a current quote. It was a quote from back during World War II. But they said, if the atomic bomb were to drop, make sure that if it drops on you, you're playing with your kids, you're making art, you're dancing, you're making food, whatever it might be. If the atomic bomb was to drop, we don't want it to be on us while we're huddled together in fear. And that was really powerful to me because I personally do continue to still do the things that I want to do despite having these underlying fears. You know what I mean? I do recognize them and I acknowledge them, but I really want to continue to do the things that make me happy. And a lot of them are creativity, Sometimes I'll be writing on my document and think about what if Microsoft just decides that what I'm writing isn't okay and I can't write it anymore and they just take it away, So I started offloading things to different sites so that I can have it. But I mean, you should have your stuff stored in various places anyways. But just in those moments, of being what's the point? And then I'm just going to push on anyways. So continue to push on and do the things that you enjoy. And don't be afraid to take an evening to read a book, especially a book that has nothing to do with what's going on out here in the world, a fantasy book, a romance book, just something that is more positive than what we're currently experiencing, right? And that's a part of being resistance, right? We have Nine of Wands here. And so this points to a wounded warrior defending what's rightfully yours and continuing to push forward. Oh, sorry. Why is it not? Okay, there we go. Nine of Wands. Nine of Wands kind of gives me the image that you've worked really hard in your passion for where you are and you don't want people to take that away from you. So I feel for some of you guys, you're an expert in your field in some way. And what's going on is kind of threatening the progress you've made. And this is a reminder to protect what you've learned and how far you've come. And don't let anybody take that away from you, and continue to let it be a part of your drive forward. You've spent your life's work on this thing, so continue to keep doing it. I have Knight of Wands here. King of Wands, sorry. And for this, we have drive and passion, tenacious, not afraid to take a risk, and flexible in the right circumstances. So this tells me, for, like I was saying, some of you guys are experts. King of Wands also usually has some like really fiery energy behind it, like starting a new business or something like that, being your own boss, something like that. So I'm getting that kind of image of like being the starter of something and not being afraid to be a leader and take control. So I'm definitely getting that for some of you guys, and maybe the unpacking of the darkness of things maybe is going to help with this as well, with being a leader and being an expert in these things. And then we have 3 of Stars here. Working together, strength in numbers, 2 heads are better than 1. So definitely like work with other people in your community and try to figure out how that we can keep moving forward. What I'm getting also from the Darkness card, like in association with all of this, is also approaching, like I said, unpacking the past and looking at history in general and the darkness of history. And let's accept like what happened, you know what I mean? Like let's accept like the actual history of what's been going on, where we are here now, and how it's a repeat of what has happened before. Let's really like band together and figure out like what can we do to progress. We've had a lot of progression recently, which is why we're getting such a push back into regression, right? And so how can we continue to push forward? There's lots more people who have had centuries of being oppressed that have fought and risen up for this moment now, for where we are now. So we need to keep fighting for that, right? And so we need to band together with like-minded people who want a future and who want to combat what it is that we're facing. I have Temperance here. It says healing, balance, alchemy, and the and the tempting of emotions. So what I'm thinking too is coming from things from a balanced point of view, and then having sort of like a patience for people is what I'm getting as well. I know it's hard to have patience for people who do think very differently. I struggle with it as well. But whenever we're working together with people in our community, it's important to figure out like where your wants align, you know? And I think most people do want liberation of other people. I think there are a lot of people that are confused about like, if I help somebody else, it's harmful to me. And we really need to get rid of that rhetoric, because everywhere else around the world have like basic human rights that we don't have here in the US. And it's because of that idea that gets like shoved down their throats and in their minds. And it's just like not something that they have in other countries. So it's important to remember that when approaching this like balanced perspective with people, because a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I would love that program if it was only for my group, whenever it's like, no, it needs to be for everybody. So coming forward with like that balanced aspect can maybe help mend some bridges and can maybe help build a community and make it stronger. I think a lot of people are already doing that work, so just continue to do that. I also have 8 of Wands here. So it says moving things forward, travel, action, and change. It's just an extra card. I usually do 6 cards, but this extra card popped out. So I was like, I'll just add it as an additional, like maybe, you know, aspect and something that we need to learn a little bit more about. And what I think it is reminding people is that you have people behind you, you know, because if we're looking at it and it's like taking a shot, there's a bunch of wands that are behind it, like ready. So it's like, these are people who are ready to go to battle, and these are people who are ready to protect each other. And I think that's really important with everything that's going on. And it's going to take looking through our shadow and acknowledging the darker parts of ourselves so that we can, you know, acknowledge it, work through it, and continue to move forward and find magic in numbers and people coming together and deciding they don't want to put up with what's going on anymore. So I'm running out of time now, but that was the end of the reading. I don't really have much more to say. If you like my videos, please go check out my profile, go follow me, subscribe to me, like me, comment, whatever, and or buy me a cup of coffee if you want to support what I'm doing. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.